Welcome to Daily Drive for Monday, August 3rd, 2026. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, hybrids are carrying several automakers to strong July sales results. Nissan swings back to profit, and one upcoming model is at the center of its turnaround plan. And Volvo is replacing its entry-level EV with something bigger and cheaper. Plus, vehicle sound systems are getting a software makeover, and it could change how automakers compete for buyers.
Audio has become an integral part of the user experience, and the user experience has now become one of the key ways that automakers are differentiating their vehicles from the competition.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. Hybrids are keeping several automakers in the green this July. Honda posted a 13% sales jump. That's its fourth straight monthly gain. Record hybrid deliveries fueled the surge. They represented nearly 30% of volume last month. Hyundai and Kia also hit July records, with hybrid sales surging 35 and 108% respectively. But EV slumped at both Korean brands. Mazda slid for the fifth time this year. We're still waiting on July results from Toyota and Ford as of recording time. According to Mobility Global, the broader U.S. market remains on track for a roughly 3% decline from 2025. With hybrids surging, Nissan is banking on one of its own electrified models to keep it in the black. The Japanese automaker swung to an operating profit of more than $480 million in its fiscal first quarter ended July 30th, reversing a nearly $489 million loss the year before. CEO Ivan Espinosa says the upcoming Rogue e-Power is Nissan's most important launch of the year, calling it access to, quote, a market we didn't have access to before. The automaker cut its global sales forecast, citing China's downturn, the Middle East war, and last week's earthquake in Japan. And Volvo is replacing its entry-level electric crossover. The EX50 is due at U.S. showrooms in fall 2027, priced in the high 40,000s. That's roughly 10 grand less than the EX40 it replaces. It will be the first model out of Volvo's new Slovakia plant, with first-year U.S. sales targeted at up to 10,000 units. Here to talk more about it is Urvash Kakaria, who broke the news for us at Automotive News. Urvash, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Hi, Kel. Happy Monday. Thanks for having me back.
Happy Monday, sir. So Volvo is killing off the EX30 in the U.S. How does the EX50 fit into what is actually a shrinking lineup right now?
Yeah, so there are a number of angles here. One is the EX30, which is a subcompact crossover. That's going to be discontinued in the U.S. At the end of the 2026 model year. But this news, the EX50, which is a compact crossover, is expected to replace the EX40, which is a compact crossover. And the EX40 is also expected to exit the US at the end of this model year. What Volvo is doing is it's consolidating its lineup. It's getting rid of either expensive or not competitive electric models, because obviously demand for EVs in the US has significantly declined. Unlike the EX40, which is on this nearly decade-old CMA platform, the EX50 will be on Volvo's brand new software architecture. It's called SPA3. It'll have 800-volt architecture. It'll be fast charging. The batteries will be more modern. The motors will be more modern. It'll have longer range. So it will allow Volvo to be more competitive in the compact crossover segment, which is a huge segment and right now completely cornered by the Tesla Model Y. So this is some of the reasoning why Volvo is sort of bringing the EX50 and sort of getting rid of some of the older, less competitive models. Unlike the EX40, the EX50 will also be less expensive to build, both because of manufacturing technologies, but also the overall platform is going to be more scalable, more modular, and therefore less expensive to develop. So even with tariffs, because Volvo is going to build this vehicle in their new factory in Kosice, Slovakia. In fact, it will be the first vehicle that they will build in this $1.25 billion factory in Slovakia. And so even though they will still have to pay tariffs on every EX50 that they ship to the US next fall, because the car is less expensive to develop, they'll have more margin to play with.
Now, the EX40 helped Volvo get into the premium EV space, but combined 40 series sales have dropped more than a third this year. How much pressure is Volvo under to get this right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the compact crossover segment is sort of the market sweet spot, or a market sweet spot in the EV segment. So Volvo cannot afford to not have a competitive model in this segment. And I think it's not just Tesla. A number of Volvo's premium rivals, such as Mercedes-Benz and BMW, are launching all new product in this segment. The iX3 will launch. The BMW iX3 will launch in September. The Mercedes GLC EV will come by the end of the fourth quarter. So Volvo absolutely needs to be competitive in this segment, and because the EX50 is going to be a little larger, from what I understand, it's going to be a little larger than the EX40. It'll be on a newer, less expensive platform. All those things should help with competitiveness.
Perfect. Urvash, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Kel.
As vehicles get more software defined, automakers are finding new ways to compete for buyers beyond horsepower and fuel economy. One of those ways is sound. John Policcio is QNX's Global Product Marketing Director. He sat down with our own Hannah Lutz on the latest episode of the Automotive News Shift podcast. Here's a piece of that conversation.
A lot has changed in the industry over the past decade and beyond. How have QNX goals changed in the last 10 years as vehicles have become more technically complex?
So I think we can talk about this maybe from the whole vehicle aspect, right? And then drill down a little more into sound, which is the juicy topic of the day here. But so vehicles have just gotten much more complicated, right? Clearly, the amount of things that cars can do, the proliferation of EV platforms, and particularly now the proliferation of these software-defined vehicle, these SDV platforms, have made the development process much different for car companies. There are hundreds of millions of lines of code, right, in a modern software-defined vehicle. And QNX, which has been around for years and years and years, 46 years now, right, as an embedded system supplier and as a supplier of software to cars, has kind of been along for the ride as all of these changes have taken place. So right now, I would say one of the most predominant shifts that's happening in the industry is this move away from large numbers of very small, very simple purpose, single purpose controllers, ECUs, into this consolidation of a smaller number of more sophisticated modules, zone controllers, domain controllers, right, that are run by these big, powerful systems on chips. And, QNX is providing operating systems that drive those zone controllers, domain controllers, high performance computing platforms inside vehicles. We're also providing hypervisors, right? So these are the pieces of software that look across all the different operating systems that work together in a modern software-defined vehicle, right? So you might have one safety-certified operating system like QNX's SDP-7.1 or SDP-8 that's running the safety-critical devices, the digital gauges, the speedometer, the digital cluster. You might have a Linux operating system that's doing something else, and you might have an Android operating system that's doing a third thing, right? And they all need to be working together. So the ability to provide software that stitches all of that stuff together at the foundational layer is something that QNX does very, very well. As you start to see this module consolidation happen, you start to realize that there are opportunities for cost savings. There are opportunities for creating additional features and end user experiences that maybe you didn't have available to you back in the old days when you were doing EE architectures the old fashioned way. Sound is a great example, right? So for years, since the early 80s, sound was done by means of audio amplifiers and signal processing. It started out with literally guys like swapping out resistors and capacitors, right, to make the sound be perfect in every one of the speakers that were in the vehicle. In the 1990s, they moved to digital signal processing. And since then, digital signal processing built into an amplifier that you bought from a branded provider, right, a Panasonic or a Bose or a Harman or somebody like that, was the way that you did sound. But now what started to happen is if you have a vehicle that is an SDV type architecture and all of the processing is being done on a big system on chip from an NVIDIA or Qualcomm or MediaTek or one of those big suppliers, there is so much processing capability in those chips that you don't need dedicated processing just for audio anymore. And so what's starting to happen is that there are car companies that are actively working on removing the processing, removing the smarts from those audio amplifiers and pulling them into the system on chip that's doing all of the other computing work that's happening in the car. And that is a trend that can save car makers a tremendous amount of money. So last year, QNX worked with a company called Munro and Associates, right? Yes. Sandy Munro is kind of a legend here in the Detroit area. And they did some teardowns for us and found out that by removing a digital signal processor from a amplifier in a car, you can save between $25 and $98 per vehicle in cost. Wow. And so that cost now can be used to give the car maker optionality that they didn't have before. You can take that money and put it in your pocket, mm-hmm. right? You can, and increase your profit. You can take that money and make the car more affordable because everybody's talking about affordability and what a crisis it is as the price of new cars goes up and the price of the age of used cars expands, right? Sort of as a corollary to that. Or where we're most excited is you can use that savings to add new features. Mm-hmm. You can put speakers in unique places. You can add, 3D listening and spatial audio and some of the really cool stuff that you're starting to see some of the lead users of this methodology put into vehicles that are just starting to show up on the road.
Yeah. So that cost savings obviously is a huge motivator and driver of decisions for the automaker once they make that decision to simplify the system and put it in that one chip mm-hmm. Instead of multiple areas. How are they thinking after that? If they want to differentiate the technology in the vehicle, what are they thinking about? Because it seems like consumers want similar things, but they don't want to see the same exact system in every car. So how do they differentiate?
There are a lot of ways that car makers can differentiate. It's interesting. I gave an interview at CES and was talking about how when people ask me like what kind of car they should buy, John, you're in the automotive business, right? I'm going to get a new SUV. What should I get? My answers always used to be, oh, you want to worry about quality, reliability, durability, make sure it'll go 100,000 miles without braking, make sure it has the right cargo area, the right horsepower, the right 0 to 60 time. I'll talk about any of that stuff anymore, right? It's get in the car, play with the user interface for half an hour and figure out whether it's going to drive you crazy every time you're trying to change the temperature, right? Or change a source on the audio system or turn the volume up or down. So the user experience has become, I think, a much greater part of how automakers differentiate themselves now than some of the more traditional differentiation measures like styling or quality or gas mileage, right? Or whatever, right? Gas mileage is a non-issue if you're driving an EV. A lot of cars are starting to look very similar, right? Whether it's a sedan or an SUV or whatever. So you have this digital cockpit, right? This conglomeration of screens and sounds and sensors and signals that come from those sensors. And all of them are being mixed and matched in really creative ways. And sound is definitely one of those things. I mean, I come from a long background in branded automotive sound. I worked for Bose for a number of years before I came to QNX. And it was always a struggle to be able to get the sound system to be one of the top 5 unique selling points, right? USPs of a car. And I was talking to a colleague about this earlier. There was a time where Bose was making sound systems for Ferrari. And we were like, oh man, Ferrari, right? We're going to get all kinds of press. And so Ferrari puts out their list of USPs, right, for the car. And like number 1 is the engine went from 601 horsepower to 604 horsepower. And, then number 15 is the whole roof is upholstered in leather, and then number 25 is, and there's a sound system, right?
Is it just expected? Do people think they know what they're going to get?
I think there is a level at which the sound system will be table stakes, and everybody sort of assumes that it's going to be pretty good and it's going to manage all my sources and it's going to let me play all the different things I want to play. But there are some superlative sound systems that are out there on the market right now. One of the ones that QNX is very proud of is the new Volvo EX60. So this is their new mid-sized SUV. It's built on Volvo's SPA3 platform. The sound system comes in 3 levels or 3 flavors, right? There's an unbranded base level system. There's a Bose system in the middle, and there's a Bowers & Wilkins system at the top. The Bowers & Wilkins system is making it into the reviews as one of the reasons that you should buy this car. They're saying that this because it has Dolby Atmos, which is a very immersive 3D presentation of music. People are saying that this is like you should never not buy this car without one of these systems, and this system is in fact one of the reasons you should buy the car. So audio, this is a long way of saying that audio and it has become an integral part of the user experience. And the user experience has now become one of the key ways that automakers are differentiating their vehicles from the competition. So it's an uphill climb. As we said, there's hundreds of millions of lines of code. There's lots of integration. There's a lot of work to do to get these systems working correctly. But when you do, the carrot is you're able to offer these amazing viewing, listening, participatory experiences that you never had back when your only option was 4 speakers and a CD.
QNX Global Product Marketing Director John Policcio spoke with our own Hannah Lutz. You can hear the full conversation on the latest episode of the Automotive News Shift podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts. That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Urvash Kakaria, David Phillips, and Hans Greimel for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on July auto sales, the Volvo EX50, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.